How do you feel about Julio after playing 10 all-time great years in Atlanta, now playing for his fourth team in 4 years?
You know, Skip, everybody's journeys are different in what their goals are when they enter the league to try to accomplish. And one of my goals in general was to, you know, play, make money, and uplift my family out of poverty. That was my goal. My goal wasn't to chase rings or anything like that. My goal was simply, hey, on the way to this, if I happen to get a ring, if I happen to go to Pro Bowls, if I happen to do those sort of things, then yeah, when I first came into the league, I said I'm only going to play 10 years.
Yep.
It's well documented. 10 years and I'm done. I played the 11th year because Dan Henning was my coordinator at the Jets, who went on to become the coordinator in Carolina. I became available. I went and had a nice cocktail with him one night and decided, okay, I'm going to sign on for this 1 year based on what Steve Smith was going through the year before against Seattle, which clamped him down. So I said, hey, if I could join Smitty and we can go get a ring. Now, when you look to Julio Jones, who's had a Hall
By the way, real quick, did you regret that at all? Were you up to that task?
You know, it's so funny. I was up to the task.
Yeah.
I get the damn training camp, and Smitty gets hurt.
Yeah.
So the first game now, I got to become Batman again instead of Robin. I thought I was going to be Robin, right? I'm like, oh, I could go here and just, you know, 1 foot in, 1 foot out. All of a sudden, Smitty gets hurt. The first game we play Atlanta, and now I got D'Angelo Hall. He's young. He want to clap when he break the huddle, and I'm like, oh, no, I don't want to go through this. But Julio Jones may be searching for something different.
Yeah.
He's gone, if you think about it. Tennessee traded for him. They just had lost in a wild card game the year before. They're in the AFC Championship game. So you look at that and you say, okay, he has an opportunity to get a ring. Then he goes to Tampa, opportunity to get a ring. Now he joins Philadelphia, opportunity to get a ring. One of the top 3 teams in all of the NFC conference, one of the top 5 teams, 6 teams in all of the National Football League. He adds something to them. Now, I don't know how much gas he has left in the tank. Clearly enough for them to sign him, or at least they think he has enough. Everybody's goals are different. And if I'm looking at this, maybe it's not complete, although he played in a Super Bowl and had a phenomenal catch on the sideline that people don't remember because of the Edelman catch against the New England Patriots, but he had a toe toucher. And so maybe he's saying to himself, my career and journey is not complete until I get that ring. And that may be the case. That wasn't the case for me because I accomplished a lot, Richard, quick, fast, in a hurry. I went to Pro Bowls early. I played in championship games early. You know, I won a Super Bowl early in my career. So when I was satisfied. Unlike Skip talking about he won 8, went to 8 and won 5. He ain't satisfied still, even though he tried to look us in the face and tell us that about the Cowboys.
Right. Well, my guy, Quintorris Lopez Julio Jones Jr., a great rival of mine, a classmate. You know, we came into the league together, an adversary for a number of years, you know, a number of playoff battles, regular season battles, incredible Hall of Fame player. He does have a ton to offer, you know, to a young receiver group, a young receiver room. I'm sure A.J. Brown was standing on the table for him, harping that this guy can make a difference. He's an old Alabama receiver, so I'm sure Devontae Smith and him go way back. I'm sure he was advising him and mentoring him before. It's necessary to have guys like this, a guy that has played the game at the highest of high levels consistently, and he'll give insight that maybe even the receivers coach, Aaron Moorhead, may not be able to or give him a bridge to the players that he may not have right now. I think it's a great move. I think it's a win-win situation. Obviously, Julio wants a ring. He wants to get back to that big game and win it. He wants to do whatever he can to win that. And I'm not mad at him for it. I think he got something left in the tank. If he does, we'll see it on the field, no question.
Look, the one thing when you say left in the tank, Skip, I know he could be a dominant red zone threat for sure. Something that the Dallas Cowboys certainly need in a big receiver. Now, A.J. Brown and Julio Jones with Devontae Smith inside on the perimeter. You got 2 trees. That certainly, as you mentioned, Richard, he adds something there.
Silly me, I thought we had a great red zone threat who wears 88 for a reason, but we don't seem to go to him in the red zone. I don't know. Maybe we will fix that problem. All right, back to your point. As Richard so correctly pointed out, and he knows up close and personal, for all those years in Atlanta, Julio was the man in this league at receiver. He was the best because it's rare that we've seen a package like this. This is up in your league, except he could run a little better than you could run.
Absolutely.
Just a little better.
Yeah.
But we're still talking, what do we say? Is he 6'4"?
Man, all I know is he's really big.
Yeah, well, Richard knows how big he is because Richard's a tall corner in and of his own self. But the point was, I was rooting for Tampa last year because I rooted for Tom Brady. And I wanted Julio because I know for a fact that Tom recruited him. It was somewhat through Instagram, through, direct message. But he recruited him to come down and let's do this together, and I'm going to help you get your ring that you so badly want. I'm great with that, and I was great with it last year until Julio starts pulling up lame. You know how he's tightly wound. It seems like he's always pulling something, usually his hamstring. And he just couldn't get and stay right last year, stay healthy. And he started looking like shell of self. And it was hard on my eyes because I was pulling for them and for him. And he just couldn't produce remotely at the level he used to produce at. So he managed to start 5 games. He appeared in 11. And his best stats of the year came in that playoff loss to, speaking of, the Dallas Cowboys. Because that night, Brady threw him 11 balls. He caught 7 for 74, by far his best game of the year. Caught a touchdown pass in that game. But the problem was they fell behind 24-0 and then 31-6 at home to Dak and company. And at 31-6 in the fourth quarter, Brady kept feeding him footballs because it's a little bit garbage time. So he threw him 7 balls in the fourth quarter alone, and he caught 4 of them for 29. So my point is, it was a little bit misleading what those stats were, even in his best game of the year. So I'm not sure how much he has in the tank. It's the big issue is, can he stay completely healthy? Can he avoid pulling hamstring? Because if he can, maybe he's got a little bit left in the tank. I don't disagree with your red zone point because, my God, he's still... There's still a lot of superstar left there.
Yeah.
But the point is, I just don't. He's not going to change life in Philadelphia, except to Richard's point, maybe in the receiver room he can change life because you can't have a better voice.
Yeah. Well, look here. You talk about changing life. He changes life in the receiver room, but he also has a name, and that name says J. Jones on the back. Of that jersey. And whether we or whomever feel he may not have gas left in the tank or he was injury prone over the last several years, in particular last year in Tampa where he had hamstring injuries, they're not asking him to come in and start 5 games and play 11 games. All they need him to do is play a little bit in certain situations, situational football. It's worth it with a guy like this in situational football. Because, again, when you get in the fringe area, and you know this, Richard, when you get in the fringe area, you got a Julio Jones, Devontae Smith, and now an A.J. Brown. You got to figure out who to go with. If we put our worst corner on Julio Jones, he's probably going to eat that dude's lunch in a short area. Now, if we put our best corner on Julio Jones, for whatever reason, which you probably wouldn't do, you leave everybody else available. So it creates problems for defensive coordinators, in particular the Dallas Cowboys that are coming up in the next 3 weeks. They play the Philadelphia Eagles. So don't lose sight of that. You already done lost out on Gregory to the 49ers. Now you lose out on Julio Jones that could have helped you in your red zone because you don't have a tight end. You got a smallish guy in Cook that can do some stuff here and there. Michael Gallup, as you said, he's just been a shell of himself from 3-4 years ago. And then CeeDee Lamb doesn't get enough opportunities, according to you, in the red zone. So if you would have had the foresight like Howie Roseman and took a flyer on a guy like Julio Jones, you might have hit pay dirt.
Right.
Richard.
You definitely might have.
Richard, if you had to cover Julio right now, how afraid of him would you be?
I can't say I'm afraid of anybody, Skip.
Yeah.
I mean,
I knew
even when
that was
people are
coming.
faster or stronger or whatever, you know, come on now. I played at a high level in this league. They got to deal with me. But at the same time, you know, it's when you play guys like this. I played Randy Moss, Skip, when Randy was past his prime. He was with the 49ers.
Yep.
It was very late in his career, but, you know, he still had a little juice left in the tank. And it meant something to me. It meant something to me to get the cover Randy Moss.
Absolutely.
I picked him in the back of the end zone in a home game we had. I played really well that game. I almost had 2 interceptions. I returned a kick, a blocked field goal. But the pick against Randy Moss was everything. Now, this isn't prime Randy. This isn't, but it's Richard Sherman picked Randy Moss. I'm telling my kids. Like, I'm telling my son. I don't care when it was. I don't care if it was 63. I picked Randy Moss. And Julio is, you know, Randy is in a stratosphere of his own, but Julio during our time was one of the greatest receivers to play during our time. And I'm sure there are kids that'll line up against him and say, man, this is Julio Jones I'm covering. And it's probably going to either shock him or bring something else out of him to make him play harder.
You got a guy who's 6'5" at least, okay, 220 pounds at least, and he still has some short area quickness. All I need him is in the fringe area to the red zone, man. That's all I need him to. I need him in the fringe to the red zone, and I can get a lot out of him. I don't need him to play 65 plays a game. I just don't.
All right. Obviously, the Eagles have some injury issues. They lost Quez Watkins for the year. But, Keyshawn, I'm stepping back, and I'm looking at this very differently than you two are looking at it because I revered him. I honored him when he was a Falcon because he was the man in this league. And as a fan of his and of professional football, it starts to hurt my eyes when I can't find Julio. You know, if I can't see Julio in Julio. So I get your point. Howie Roseman, he's at the top of the list right now for team building, even though he didn't even play high school football. Go figure. But the point is, I respect the heck out of Howie Roseman. I fear him. I fear that he just pushed the right button to get them over the hump, over the top without their depth of their receiver core. I got that. But now if I just look at Julio in and of himself, do you really want to see one of the greatest receivers ever at age 34 being just sort of a backup cog in the red zone, you know, like just another guy for them? It's tough to watch if that's all he is.
If he don't have a problem with it, I don't got a problem with it, Skip.
I certainly don't have a problem with it. Certainly don't.
If this gets him a ring, I mean, I don't care if he plays, you know, 1,000 snaps or he plays 200. I guarantee you in the biggest games, he's going to get an opportunity to catch a pass, a meaningful touchdown in a big game. And he may bring, like, if he catches a touchdown in the Super Bowl, Skip, and he only plays 5 snaps that game, Skip, I guarantee you that man will say it was well worth it.
Not only that, Richard, if you know, you talk about players coming back and chasing things or whatever you want to call it. Eric Weddle, a safety, was a good safety in this league with the Pro Bowls and all that.
Yeah.
He signed with the Rams late in the year.
He did.
And made an impact in the DB room and on the field.
I thought he contributed.
And went on to win a Super Bowl.
Okay.
So I look at that as a measuring stick for Julio Jones. You are good in the classroom, and when you need to go to the field, you just contribute whatever it is that you can do to get that ring.
Okay,
I think you are afraid of this and don't want to admit it.
No, I'm not afraid of it because I watched so closely last year and I wanted him to be great.
Last year was last year, though.
Shell of self.
Last year was last year,
Okay,
Coach.
but
we're talking about right now.
But check this out. Why do you think Tom Brady threw him 11 balls in a playoff game? Because Tom had committed heart and soul to him. I'm going to help you get a ring. And once they finally eked in the back door, as you keep pointing out, what were they?
7 to 9 or whatever.
8 to 9 or whatever they were.
Yeah,
they stole the division. Okay,
barely
they did.
500.
All right, but they got there, and they had a home playoff game, and Tom is saying, Julio, here we go. You and I, let's do this.
Yeah.
And
different team.
that happened.
He's on a different team. This wasn't the Tampa Bay team that won the Super Bowl.
Right.
This was a Tampa Bay team that just wanted to act as though they were the same team that won the Super Bowl. This Philadelphia team
All right.
is better than last year's Tampa Bay team by a mile.
All right, I will sum this up by telling you, as cold-blooded as this sounds, I told you when Zeke came home to Dallas with Belichick, I was not afraid of Ezekiel Elliott, and he went 6 carries for 16 yards. I am not afraid of Julio Jones in Philadelphia. I respect Philadelphia, but I'm not afraid of him making them something even more special.
The difference is they're not depending on him, Skip. They're depending on all day, always open A.J. Brown and Devontae Smith. He's just sprinkles on top of it.
Okay, do you really want to see him be sprinkles? And yet Richard's saying if he's good with it,
I'm
you're
good with it.
Okay,
I want to see him I want to see him chase a ring.
Thanks for watching, Undisputed fans. Do you want more highlights from the show? Make sure to click that subscribe button for all the exclusive content from Undisputed.